following is an exclusive presentation of News Radio KMAN, your home for K-State athletics. It's game time. This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
AJ, if I'm a tourist and I'm heading to Chicago, what's a very touristy place that I just shouldn't check out? It's a complete waste of time, and it's overrated.
Sure, the Bean.
I've been to the Bean. I have been to the Bean, and you get underneath it, and you look funny in the reflection. It's basically a mirror, and everybody's in there taking pictures. You might be right. I remember going. I was 16 when I went to Chicago, and the Bean was a waste of time.
Yeah.
I also thought the Navy Pier was also just kind of like, just big old Ferris wheel.
See, typically when I go to the city, I haven't been to the city just for tourism and purpose in probably 8 or 9 years, but when I go to the city, it's typically either to Wrigley or Soldier Field.
Have you ever been to the top of the Willis Tower? It used to be
been.
Sears Tower.
I have been to the top of the Willis Tower twice.
No, thank you.
You're not a heights guy?
Oh, hell no.
I can be a heights guy if, like I'm in a building. I know I'm not strapped into anything.
Yeah. With as much movement as there is on that bad boy, no thank you.
Can you feel it? Can you feel the movement?
Yeah, definitely.
The sway?
Yeah, it was fun. I didn't feel threatened at all. I was like maybe 13. And I had a good time.
There's also, discussion of the arch in St. Louis. I've never done that, and I hear that the elevator ride is a bear, and I want nothing to do with it.
With K-State soccer, we went there in 2016. Actually, they played the first ever K-State soccer game, and in St. Louis, we went to the arch the day before, and I didn't have any interest in going up there. It's okay. It's whatever.
When I was in St. Louis about 10 years ago on vacation. We were going to go to the Arch, but it was so darn hot there in St. Louis. It was 98 degrees, and we were just like, you know what, we're pooped. We're tired of being out in this extreme heat, Midwestern heat. Let's just stay in the hotel with the air conditioning. And
St. Louis is that one city for me. It's like I have no desire, like as a tourist or as like a vacation, just or a weekend away. St. Louis is the last place I want to go to.
Well, I like you now.
It has nothing for me.
I like you now because I always did like
Doesn't
you.
even have football anymore.
But I like that because St. Louis to me is enemy territory for sports as a Chicago sports fan.
It definitely doesn't have pizza, much less barbecue. So
well, and I hear the baseball is kind of going down too.
Yeah, well, that's another matter that I will celebrate.
I will celebrate that every single day, even though they're 5-1 against my team this year.
Well, that's your team's problem.
Yeah, maybe
this guy right here has been giving me. This guy's been giving me lip all day, and I probably deserve it.
I have not.
I probably deserve it because I did talk a lot of smack in the lead up to the show yesterday, and everybody that I've been talking to today has been like, "You lost," and I go, "Yeah, I lost in overtime." Oh, well, that's just it could happen. It's a winner, whoever can win game.
50-50.
Well, David G was talking to me earlier today, and you said something to me earlier today, AJ, about Stump the Shaw, and about how people have been coming up to us that work at the radio station and asking, are you feeding AJ the answers?
I am willing to put a camera in this studio while we play the game.
Well, hold on. I just clear the air right now. The correct answer is yes. We are feeding him the answers. It's to create a good segment.
Yep.
And to try to win some awards, and we got to make the kids sound smart.
Yeah, well, I'm actually really dumb, and also I'm super rich, and I'm also really awful because I'm super rich.
Yeah, he doesn't need no money, doesn't need any prizes. No, it's all AJ. It really is all AJ.
This is my show. This is my hour.
There's the cockiness back even after he lost, but he says he's feeling better today. Welcome to the game, Mitch Fortner, Troy Coverdale, and AJ Shaw will take it to 6 o'clock. Today, I debut my first 5 picks for my top 100 TV things of all time. We'll do that at 5:40. 100 through 96 will be today. And I'm just going to play the clips, give you a little detail, and going to say nothing else about it. It's my list. It's for everybody else to get mad at, to debate, or probably the smart thing to do, agree with every selection 100 through number 1. Then speculation around the office today, what will be number 100? What barely made the list, as yesterday Troy made the guess, Get Smart.
Now I have a question. Was John good at TV shows?
Out of music, movies, TV, I would say music probably 1, TV 2, definitely not movies. But I would say decent. We didn't have TV shows when we played music versus movies.
Okay.
So we never. I mean, I don't know.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I didn't know. Maybe
he's a TV show guy.
Yeah.
Who isn't?
I mean, who isn't exactly?
All right. Jabroni of the week in hour number 1. Are the Royals doing okay? Coming up in hour number 2. Plus, to kick off hour number 2, it is my second and final part of K-State basketball, the Manhattan Project. If you missed part 1, that was yesterday in hour number 2 of the show. If you ever miss any of the show, just search for The Game on 1350 K-Man, wherever you listen to your podcast. I use Spotify. You can go to newsradiokman.com and listen to any second of any show going back to the year 2014, the last 10 years, all podcasted. Mitch, Troy, and AJ with you. Let's talk about actually some government stuff to lead off the show. This coming out about an hour and a half ago, and we've touched on this story a number of times over the last 6 to 12 months. But this out of the state capitol, the State House has voted to approve a measure to encourage the Kansas City Chiefs and Royals to join the good guys, the state of Kansas, leave the state of Missouri and come over to Kansas. That was a bipartisan vote. It passed 84 to 38 for House Bill 2001, which is, of course, in tribute to the worst Royal season in history. That's not true, but I think that's a good guess. 2001 was probably really bad. AJ, what was the Royals' record in 2001?
Did they lose 106 ball games that year?
No.
We're about to find out. Oh, 65 and 97.
Oh, yeah. That was 02. They won 56. I still think, and Troy might agree with me, 04, 05, they were pretty awful.
But if House Bill 201 is approved, with it being approved and now goes to the Senate, and what this would do would amend the Star Bond program to allow certain major professional sports complexes to implement projects and help provide additional sources of revenue for bond repayment. The bill requires the project to have a minimum capital investment of $1 billion. All right, Troy, after everything I just read from an article, can you explain this like I'm 5?
Essentially, the idea, much like what we have seen in terms of the Discovery Center and the Museum of Art and Light that are downtown, the taxes from those districts, sales taxes from those districts help pay for the funding, pay for the bonds that are floated to take care of the construction. That's essentially what would happen in this case. It would be bonding that they would be able to utilize via sales tax collections or tax collections in that specific district. And something that we, in fact, talked about this morning with State Representative Kenny Titus, I joked about, and then only to find out that someone actually has apparently mentioned it as a possibility, and that is that you could make the entire state of Kansas a star district for these two stadiums.
Okay, so as a 5-year-old, I just chucked my juice and continued to eat my mac and cheese.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, it's convoluted, and it comes down to shifting monies, essentially.
Yeah, so this isn't
shifting responsibilities.
Yeah, necessarily. Yeah, this vote going through, which means the Royals and Chiefs are no longer going to be in Missouri or anything like that.
The Senate still has to vote on this.
Does Laura Kelly have to sign anything?
She would have to sign this if it passes the Senate.
Okay.
So there are still two levels, but every indication is that if it passes, she will sign it.
What does this mean then if you're the Kansas City Chiefs and Kansas City Royals? What does this mean if you're a part of one of those organizations?
To them, it means that you have an option to go bully Jackson County again. You have basically something in your quiver to be able to say, okay, what's your offer? What are you coming back with?
Yeah, you're saying this is a little bit of a leverage
Big
play.
time for them.
As in, hey, what did you say the county is? Jackson County?
Jackson. Mm-hmm.
Hey, Jackson County. Remember that sales tax vote that didn't go through?
Mm-hmm.
How you feeling about that now?
And that is exactly the ploy that is in play here. One of the aspects of it that I know is going to be an attention grabber is the fact that the Chiefs would be on the hook for $600 million of the funding for this stadium. Through their own words, they've stated that if it would play out this way in Kansas, they would be on the hook for $600 million of their own funding. That's compared to the $300 million that they said they would need for renovating Arrowhead. So that immediately gets into an interesting debate, and some of the Jackson County folks will definitely take that as, hey, wait a minute, what little shell game do you have going here?
So, as I'm not a native Kansan, as many know, but Frank White came out earlier, and I'm sure you probably saw this, Troy, when I sent it to you. He says, I urge all stakeholders to honor the spirit of the 2019 truce and refrain from engaging in a counterproductive stadium bidding war. I don't know what he means by the 2019 truce.
2019 truce was the original discussion of a possible opportunity to try to talk with the Chiefs and talk with the Royals about moving them to Legends. There was a rumbling at that point about a potential move. Not that it really ever gained much momentum because on both sides of the line, Kansas City leadership kind of put a kibosh on that and made the pitch, and you know, the states were fine with weighing in as well that, yeah, we're not going to be trying to snipe from the other side of the state line on this.
Gotcha.
And so much of that comes down to, again, what has played out with the Legends District being what it is in Kansas City.
I was getting ready to bring up. So this is now no longer a truce. We have ourselves a duel. The state of Kansas has slapped Missouri across the face with a glove and has challenged Missouri to a duel.
Yes. One of the interesting pieces that will be in place going forward, though, you have a state legislator who will be leaving his post in Jefferson City and will be leading up Jackson County's sports commission. And so has the oversight, if you will, over the Truman Sports Complex, or some things to do with the oversight of it, and will likely be someone who is going to be pulling a lot of strings and making a lot of contacts in the background to try and line up Missouri's fight if Kansas does go through with this Star District idea for the stadiums.
Is this an election year?
It is.
For both Kansas and Missouri?
Of course. And president, if
my
you haven't
goodness.
heard.
How about that? Man, what a move to make on an election year, if you ask me. Does Missouri like Mike Parson? Michael Parson, whatever his first name is.
Depends on which part of Missouri you're talking about.
Well, Troy, well, actually, I don't want to get political on the show. I'll ask you off the air.
Troy, who are you voting for in November? That's the question he wanted to ask.
Troublemaker.
Yeah, why not? Well, very interesting stuff. And I know this is super preliminary, but to me, it's like a step in the right direction. I've been pretty open about how I feel about the Royals and the Chiefs and where they're currently at the Truman Sports Complex and new stadiums. And for me, new stadiums are always exciting, especially when it would bring both teams a lot closer to where I live in a much better area and would open up the floodgates for potential on what events throughout the calendar that could come to our area and what that would mean for the Kansas side of Kansas City.
Can you imagine, though, the having to balance, and I'm not sure how the owners of Kansas Speedway would feel about this, given that there are 2 NASCAR races a year annually at the racetrack.
Yeah, maybe Kansas City, like the Royals and Chiefs, could give them something to do.
But what I'm looking at is, the trying to schedule that second race in September and having to work around.
Oh, they'd make it happen.
A Royals and Chiefs schedule.
NFL and MLB, the schedule makers, they're used to that those kind of things quite a bit. They're always having to juggle the stadiums hosting concerts, or when you have like doesn't Pittsburgh do the Steelers and Pirates, they have stadiums that are really close to each other,
right across from each other,
so they share parking lots probably.
Mm-hmm. Same thing in Baltimore with the Orioles at Camden Yards and the Ravens at M&T Bank Stadium.
They're super used to it. Mm-hmm. And you're thinking about parking, you're thinking about a whole lot of things when these schedules are being made. What's a NASCAR race going to,
Well, given that it can seat upwards of 100,000, that's where the difference would be. It makes for a tough weekend, though, to try to schedule around it. That's what I'm getting at, especially if you've got the TV networks involved the way that the Chiefs have been playing, and, trying to find dates for a national broadcast, and you're trying to find dates for a national broadcast for the race.
They'll figure it out.
I'm just saying. It's just going to make things interesting.
Are there many NASCAR tracks around other professional stadiums?
No.
I don't think they're really
No.
The only thing I remember driving by Talladega randomly, and it felt like it was in the middle of nowhere.
Nowhere, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Texas Motor Speedway, I think it's just right outside Denton. You still have a ways to go before you get into Dallas.
Oh yeah,
and Fort Worth.
there's decent separation in all of that. Yes.
Well, and you basically have to, because, like you mentioned, the capacity. These tracks hold thousands. Mm-hmm. A lot of them don't compare. They're much greater than, it's more like the Big House.
Yes. Yes.
Those kind of capacities.
Yes.
Yeah. What does Kansas Speedway hold? What's the capacity? That's our next Stump the Shaw question. What is the Kansas Speedway capacity, AJ?
Outside of Paul, who watches NASCAR here at the station?
I will occasionally.
Steven.
Yeah, I'll
Steven's
watch
a big
some.
NASCAR guy.
Sure he is.
I had with what he does on his cars. Yeah, man. I mean, he grew up in the South, for crying out loud.
Oh yeah, that's true. He did grow up in Georgia area.
So, but no, I'll watch a decent amount. Just as I'll watch the Indy 500 too.
Yeah,
but I honestly just Googled Kansas Speedway capacity, and there's nothing coming up. Maybe there's not an exact number.
I'll take a shot in the dark. I'll say 10,000.
Oh, here it says 70. No, that's not. I don't think that's it. Let's take a break. Stay tuned. When we come back, the capacity of Kansas Speedway. I want to talk a little Cats recruiting. Is K-State basketball overshadowing the recruiting of K-State football? Maybe it is, but don't let that distract you from K-State football still staying hot. That's coming up next.
You're in the game on News Radio KMAN.
Oh boy, the North Carolina Tar Heels are on the verge of being eliminated of the College World Series. Back-to-back solo home runs for Florida State, now 9-5 Seminoles. Top of the ninth inning.
That had been a 7-1 game at one point before Carolina came rallying back to cut it to 2 runs. So Florida State adding a little juice late.
Have you been keeping up with the Jell-O shots?
I have not. I have not looked today to see what the numbers look like.
All right, this was 4 hours ago. The leader in the clubhouse in Jell-O shots.
Kentucky.
They're at Rocco's. No. Tennessee. They are about 1,100 ahead of Texas A&M.
Well, those 2 guys from A&M aren't around to, take up their share.
Yeah, they've been banned from Omaha, right?
I know. Yeah, isn't that beautiful?
That's going to really stun A&M's chances of winning the Jell-O shot competition.
That's 200 at least right there per day.
It's a very disappointing showing because this would be a different story if the Cats would have made the College World Series. In dead last, Virginia. Just a little over 1,300. And by the way, it might be because, well, maybe one of two things. One, they just didn't travel well. Or two, they are poor because these are $5 a piece.
At 3, they're also out of the tournament.
Oh, were they eliminated?
They were 2 in Q.
That's
so,
right. Yeah, that's right. They were the first team eliminated.
They were.
Yeah. So Virginia out, North Carolina about to be out. Who else is out here at this point? Who are we missing? Now I'm blanking.
Of course.
Is it Florida?
Yeah, no. They're still alive.
Oh, anyway, we'll figure it out.
Did you not listen to my sports update where I mentioned Florida?
So I was right.
No, they were to play tonight.
Oh,
Florida was to play tonight, and they're going to be weathered out.
No, I did not hear your update.
NC State.
Oh, there we go. The poor ACC. Who knows if they'll have a conference soon?
The freaking SEC Invitational now for the rest of the tournament. Good God.
Let's get a little update on what K-State football has been doing lately and a little bit of recruiting. They remain hot here, guys. They're getting the recruits. They're getting quick commitments for the 2025 class, which has now reached 8 student athletes. The latest additions have come in the last couple of days. JoJo Scott out of Lakeland, Florida, 6'2", 165-pound quarterback, and he is a 3-star kid, both from Rivals and 24/7 Sports. Committed to K-State 2 days ago, and then just recently was, who I have not mentioned yet, is Sawyer, Schilke? Mm-hmm. Schilkae, Schilke. This was a few days ago, 3 days ago. Has committed to K-State. He's an edge rusher, 6'3", 225 pounds. According to Drew Galloway from K-State Online, he's going to most likely move to the middle linebacker position and play for K-State. So this is some pretty good movement here lately for K-State football as they have picked up, let me count here, 5 commitments over the last week. 8 days, rather. 5 commitments in 8 days for K-State football. So the momentum is still strong. Don't forget Martell Jackson, a in-state kid from Derby High School. So K-State's picked up a couple of recruits lately from Derby. Just one of them out of the transfer portal who used to be committed in Dylan Edwards, who will play for the Cats this upcoming season. What's still missing, obviously, is that top guy, and there's still a long way to go in 2025. There's not a whole lot to report on right now. If there is, we'll talk to K-State Online tomorrow. Representative from K-State Online does obviously feel like, and it has, that K-State basketball has overshadowed K-State football recruiting. But let's look at it in the appropriate light. That's probably the way it should be with the amount of transfer portal moves that K-State has to make. K-State football obviously is still going to recruit a ton out of the high school ranks, fill in what they need or positions in need for late 2024 pickups during the summer, during the spring on what you need for the rest of that class to fill up the roster and have the appropriate depth. K-State still football is doing a solid job in recruiting, but it's just going to be harder to steal the headlines in football than compared to basketball. It's kind of like, remember in 1994 in the movie theater in October of 1994, you had a lot of bangers in the theater at the same time. You had Pulp Fiction, you had Shawshank Redemption, you had Forrest Gump. They were all in theater at the same time. I think that's the fair comparison, the fair analogy, because K-State basketball is Pulp Fiction. They're getting the attention. They're the box office hit right now. K-State football, Shawshank Redemption. Hopefully, over time, it'll become that hidden gem. I say hidden gem. It'll become that classic but it just didn't get the attention and the money it attracted when it was in theaters. You know what I mean?
Didn't have the same juice.
Yeah, just couldn't beat Shawshank Redemption.
Right.
Or it couldn't beat Pulp Fiction, rather. By the way, speaking of K-State basketball, we are going to jump back into K-State basketball at 5:10. It is my part 2 of the Manhattan Project. I said yesterday, there's two things that what makes me very excited about K-State basketball leading up to this upcoming season for the recruiting that was done in the transfer portal. One of them was we compared it to the fat guy bomb or whatever they called it back in 1942. The fat man bomb. Those are the big guys, the tall guys, the bigs, and the depth that K-State will have in 2024-25 at those 4 and 5 positions. Coming up at 5:10, I'll give you my second half of the Manhattan Project, what excites me about K-State basketball this upcoming season. When we come back, it is Tuesday, and you know what that means. We crown a new Jabroni of the Week after these words.
Your home for K-State sports. This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni.
You jabronis hit the jackpot.
That Hollywood blonde jabroni, Hulk Hogan.
Al, is this jabroni's name?
Jabroni of the Week.
By the way, Kansas Speedway, 72,000 is the seated capacity, which is actually 4,000 less than Arrowhead Stadium.
Oh.
Jabroni of the Week time, Mitch Fortner, Troy Coverdale, and A.J. Shaw. If you don't know how Jabroni of the Week works, well, we're going to crown a Jabroni of the Week.
Oh, okay.
That's how it works.
Okay.
But there would be 3 dishonorable mentions. You know, I had to consider a bunch of folks for Jabroni of the Week, and sometimes some weeks are just easier than others. Honestly, this is one of those tougher weeks, and you'll understand why once we go through these picks. First dishonorable mention is going to go to actor Tom Gyrie. Recognize that name? Anybody?
Okay.
Anybody? No? Well, he played Smalls in The Sandlot.
Oh.
My boy, Smalls.
And, well, the other day, he was arrested after he was caught on video throwing a dumbbell through a car windshield. It appeared that he had a dispute with a neighbor. And it escalated quite quickly. It was all caught on either, security cameras or a Ring camera. Police had to come and arrest him.
You're killing me, Smalls.
Yeah, I don't know what the argument was about, but the first thing he did was take this dumbbell, which looked to be at least 40 pounds.
Nice.
And he threw it out the windshield, and it definitely goes through the windshield and then rolls off the hood of the car and then goes back to his house, which, by the way, while he is shirtless. It was said by the neighbor that at one point after the windshield was shattered, he said, quote, "That sucks, man. I'll pay you back. I'm sorry. I'm going to get you back." That's from Tom. Tom that broke the windshield.
Okay.
Then moments later, he comes back to the house and he's got a knife in his hand. The neighbor never answers the door. He stays inside, can see him on the Ring camera. Then he retreats back to his house.
Wow.
Comes back out of his house. He's in the middle of the street yelling whatever. And that's when the cops come and they arrest Smalls.
He's no longer #my boy.
Well, he never was #my boy.
I'm talking my boy. I said my boy Smalls at the beginning of the segment, and I said he's no longer #my boy, referring to myself.
Well, what's the quote?
You're killing me, Smalls.
That's right. You're killing me. Yeah,
Yep.
You're killing me, Smalls. That's appropriate right now.
Always liked Squints anyway. He was much better. He got Wendy Peppercorn to kiss him. Inadvertently or purposely.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
My next dishonorable mention is going to go to the UK. Just the United Kingdom. All of them.
Deserved.
Yeah, because you may have heard about this. They've been making headlines over there in the UK because they're going through a heat wave over there. Temperatures as high as 26 degrees Celsius, guys.
Ick.
Yeah. Real hot stuff over there in the UK. They're freaking out. People are passing out. They're not hydrated enough. For those that don't know, 26 degrees Celsius is 78.8 degrees Fahrenheit.
Wait, what?
They're passing out over 79-degree weather.
They're not used to it. It's a heat wave.
Weak.
Hydrate if you're working outside, and get your dogs. Make sure your animals are inside, out of the heat. My last dishonorable mention. This was a tough call. I've still been kind of debating. For my last dishonorable mention, maybe I'll think about this better tomorrow, or maybe switch my decision here. I'm going to go with Rory McIlroy as my last dishonorable mention. It's the U.S. Open. He has an opportunity on a couple of putts to potentially win, or on the last hole, force an overtime in a one-hole playoff against Bryson DeChambeau. Well, Rory, on the 16th hole, misses a 2.5-foot putt. And when you miss a putt like that, and you're at the top of the leaderboard of a U.S. Open, and somebody who hasn't won a major in 10 years. It's been a minute for Rory McIlroy.
Crazy.
It's going to get to your head. The pressure is going to build. You're going to be in your own mind, and it's hard to focus. Well, here comes the last hole. I think it was the last hole. And
he'd already gacked a putt on 16.
Yeah. So this time he's 4 feet out. Wants to force a playoff, and he missed it. As a matter of fact, on the replay, he did not hit that ball well at all. He was being criticized by all the golf experts on X. Was not good. Rory McIlroy, understandably, after that shot, he misses. He's now behind Bryson DeChambeau. DeChambeau is a group behind. He finished things off. He wins the U.S. Open. It didn't take long. Right after that, McIlroy takes off, and he is home within a couple of hours. Rory McIlroy, you were very close. But my Jabroni of the Week is going to go to those two Texas A&M fans at the College World Series.
Yeah, I can't blame you for doing that.
First of all, Texas A&M, you can suck it. Second, boy, I know two fans don't represent your fan base, but they still kind of represent your fan base at the same time. Like, it's a bad look. Yes, they don't necessarily – they're not every Texas A&M fan, but it's still kind of a black eye in the whole reputation of a fan base. At least that's how it's going to be taken on social media when something like this happens. Was this this was Sunday night?
Saturday night.
Oh, it said Sunday here when I pulled it from an article. But you're right. It was Saturday night because there was that delay, right?
Correct.
There was
so
a weather
it was
delay.
Sunday morning.
Yeah, late start. The game wrapped up Sunday morning, so whatever. But Florida was playing against the Aggies, and these two A&M fans are just heckling. Well, at one point, ESPN got a good camera shot of them who were sitting right next to the Florida dugout, and they're just yelling at the dugout. Well, according to the Omaha Police Officers Association, they posted on social media saying, heckling an opposing baseball team about a tragic death of their bat boy is beyond unacceptable. Glad our officers and security threw this duo out of Charles Schwab Field. You're no longer welcome in the city and should be banned for life from future College World Series. Now, I don't know if the Omaha Police Officers Association, if they have that kind of pull, but according to these guys have been banned from Omaha. Made an ass out of themselves.
Complete.
And when they're walking back up out of the stands, the officers had to pull them away from the railing.
Yes.
Away from the dugout. And as they're leaving, they're trying to pump up the crowd, trying to get them to cheer or whatever. They're trying to take in the warm reception. I'm sure they were getting there. There were a handful of Gator fans doing the chop at them as they are leaving. They were kicked out, no longer welcome in Omaha. When you're just kicked out of a city like that from the Omaha Police Officers Association for doing a pretty dumb thing and making an ass out of yourself, that's a pretty easy Jabroni of the Week.
Absolutely.
So do you think I made the right decision?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
By a long shot.
Absolutely.
But, Rory did miss 2 putts.
No, mocking a dead bat boy is much worse than Rory McIlroy missing 2 putts.
All right, so I went with the right 2 putts?
Sure. Yes, you did.
I thought that was kind of funny.
That's well done.
All right, let's finish up hour one after these words. You're listening to The Game.
This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
AJ, you sent something to our group chat earlier today of something about Deion Sanders forcing his players to go to a Lil Wayne concert. Here's my only reaction. I wish my boss forced me to go to more concerts. I would love that. Send me on some more concerts to cover there, boss.
Oh, boy.
So what's the story? Is it Deion Sanders, like his kid was performing, like opening for Lil Wayne or something?
Yeah, had a song that he was performing. And One. Basically a song regarding a timepiece that he wears. It's called Precision Time, is the name of the song.
Nifty.
Yeah.
Colorado has a chance to do the funniest thing ever this season and prove all the haters wrong.
And what's that?
Fire Deion?
No. Win more games than they're supposed to. But, yeah, that's not going to happen because it's not going to happen. Colorado's not going to do it.
Because they still have like 20 scholarships to fill?
Yeah.
Jeez.
God, what a mess that is.
Another max accident. Well, they didn't all. Apparently, they didn't all want to go to the Lil Wayne concert.
Well, yeah, that's a big part of it. And Deion clapping back, if you will, on Twitter, calling it a complete lie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, I don't think it's ever mandatory, but every coach at K-State will encourage their student athletes to go to other teams' games at K-State and go support those teams.
Sure.
I mean,
that's a different beast than you're going to the concert because my son is rapping. Team building. A little different.
Lil Sanders, what's his rap
boy.
name? Yeah, I'm being serious.
I know.
Lil Sanders? Does that work?
Shedder.
All right. Coming up next, part 2, K-State basketball, the Manhattan Project. You're listening to The Game.